In 1980, the Saints were called the Aints by their embarrassed fans, but that's not the case any longer. New Orleans jumped out to a fast start, winning 3 of their first 4 games, and their thoughts suddenly turned to the playoffs as a young New Orleans team, led by the aging and veteran quarterback Ken Stabler, plucked off the NFL scrap heap by the Saints coach Bum Phillips. Ken Stabler, sacked against the Dallas Cowboys, went down and missed last week's loss to the Washington Redskins. Stabler questionable for today. As far as the fickle Falcons are concerned, this season a microcosm of years gone by. Up one year and down the next. In the playoffs one season, out the next. They split their first 4 games, then won 3 in a row, broke down and let down last week against Green Bay. When Atlanta's on their game, they look like Super Bowl contenders. The passing of Steve Bartkowski, the receiving of Alfred Jenkins and Alfred Jackson, and the running of William Andrews. The Falcons have clinched their 3rd playoff spot in 5 years. The Saints hoping to keep their slim playoff hopes alive.
CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Atlanta Falcons against the New Orleans Saints.
Live from the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, the 5-3 Falcons, the 3-5 Saints. Around the NFL today, these crucial scores. The Redskins on top over the Cardinals trying for home field advantage. The Eagles and the Giants with about half a quarter left to go at Veterans Stadium. Tampa Bay on the verge of being eliminated by the Chicago Bears. Chicago with some slim playoff hopes as well. So if those scores were to hold up, here's the way the standings would look after week number 9. The Redskins solidifying home field advantage as far as they could go. The Cowboys tomorrow night against the Minnesota Vikings. Atlanta with a chance for home field. And as far as the Rams are concerned, they're just waiting to wait for the axe to fall on the front office and head coach Ray Malavasi. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly. John Dockery, former New York Jet, alongside. Whenever the Falcons and the Saints get together, it's a big rivalry encompassing 2 of the great southern cities in the United States. But these 2 teams don't like each other very much. Great intensity, bodies and helmets usually fly around. As far as the Falcons are concerned, John, will the real Atlanta team probably stand up today?
They are definitely a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality, so much so that Lehman Bennett can't figure out which one will show up on a given Sunday. Last week they were gobbled up by Green Bay. Before that, one of the hot teams in the NFL. They had won 3 in a row. I think they'll rebound today for the playoffs.
With the importance of the playoffs. And, of course, as far as the New Orleans Saints are concerned, Bum Phillips in his 2nd year rebuilding around youth and enthusiasm, around George Rogers, but around an aging and veteran gunslinger.
Exactly. Bum Phillips calls it building the foundation to his new house. George Rogers will not start today. He has a hamstring pull. We don't know how much he'll play. Kenny Stabler, 37 years old, 13 years in the league. His eyes sparkle when he talks about his new team, the Saints. And what many people don't know about Kenny, he hopes to be around next year and in the future. He looks like he's just about ready. Let's go get him, Jim.
Saints have won the toss. They've elected to receive. That's number 89, Andre Thompson, 84, Rich Morty. And the Saints break it out. Andre Thompson gets it near the 17-yard line. 1st and 10. You can see the intensity and the hitting already on the opening tackle. Robert Jackson, 62, in there on the hit defensively for the Atlanta Falcons. You take a look. Kenny Stabler will work. Not with George Rogers today. He's injured. We'll talk about that. The backfield and the wide receivers of the New Orleans Saints. And the offensive line, well, they're a very young group. Larry Hardy, tight end. And, of course, we'll keep our eye on number 63, Brad Edelman. He is termed perhaps one of the best offensive guard prospects to come along in recent years. There's the veteran, Ken Stabler, 37 years young, and with a gleam in his eye, he's rejuvenated about football and about this New Orleans Saints football team. 1st and 10 for the Saints opening drive. Up near the 25-yard line and close to first down yardage, Lindsey Scott, the wide receiver, the rookie out of Georgia, 1st-round draft pick in 1982. The defense of the Atlanta Falcons pulverized a week ago by the Green Bay Packers. Don Smith at a good nose tackle, lots of sacks. There are the linebackers, a mobile core, Joel Williams, not yet back from the injury to 100%. And the secondary, Kenny Johnson, victimized twice last week by number 80, James Lofton. 2nd down, 3 yards to go for the Saints at their 26-yard line. Wide receivers left and right. The backs are split. Stabler to put it up on his 2nd. 1st down for the Saints. Andre Thompson in his 6th year out of East Texas, and you can see very quickly that the Saints are surprising Atlanta. They told us yesterday at practice they would be throwing the ball about 50% of the time.
But Kenny Stabler told us that he hoped to be throwing the ball a lot because when you don't have a George Rogers, you have to put the ball up. There was a twinkle in his eye when he talked about putting it in the air like the old days, 40 or 50 times.
The man that he beat was Kenny Johnson. We talked about Kenny being victimized last week on 2 occasions by James Lofton for touchdown in that Packer romp against the Atlanta Falcons. First down for New Orleans. Draw play straight ahead. And you can see the swarming Atlanta Falcons defense. Lehman Bennett says of his defense that there are 10 Falcons on the ball at all time. The 11th man that is not hitting with quite the same intensity as before the injury, Joel Williams.
Of course, remember back in 1980 when Joel Williams had 16 sacks. He was an all-world linebacker, much in the mold of a Lawrence Taylor. Hasn't come all the way back yet. I think it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing, Jim.
Second down, approaching midfield. Wide receivers, Jeff Groth to the left side, Lindsey Scott to the right side. In the slot, Andre Thompson, number 89. Stabler on second down will throw for the first down. He's got it. Jeff Groth, in his 4th year out of Bowling Green, a free agent, came in with 26 catches and 1 touchdown, 320 yards. First down for the New Orleans Saints.
And Kenny Stabler is doing exactly what he told us. He said we might see 3 wide receivers. We'll put the ball up. What else can we do against a solid defense like Atlanta and no George Rogers?
Kenny Stabler came in, 93 completions, 154 attempts for over 1,072 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
And look at that completion percentage, over 60%. That's his trademark. He's always been a high percentage completion passer.
Good block over the right side. Guy John, 10th round draft pick in 1981 out of LSU. Tom Pridemore came in, a pickup of 8 yards. So you see the big hole over on the right side. Lewis Aubrey, the right guard, Stan Brock, the right tackle. They're young, just 1 and 3 years respectively.
Oh my goodness, my Jets losing to Kansas City's 37-13. I thought they were on a roll after winning last week so big.
Kansas City playing with a lot of emotion today, though. Of course, Jack Rudney in his final game after a great career with the Kansas City Chiefs. Wide receivers left and right. Stabler looks at second and short yardage. We'll put it up again. Batted down and preventing a touchdown. Number 23, Bobby Butler, the second-year defensive back out of Florida State, a first-round draft pick in 1981.
Bobby Butler has that great speed. Watch him backing off here now. He's playing man-on-man on Lindsey Scott. He does have some help underneath. See him backpedaling, trying to bottom of the screen, trying to keep that cushion. Scott makes his move. Butler breaks with him. Gets in front, almost comes up with an interception. Excellent defensive play.
Lindsey Scott, number 80, one of the wide receivers. 86 is Jeff Groth. 89, Andre Thompson. Those are the 3 wideouts. Now 89 has checked out along with Jeff Groth. They're going with a double tight end alignment on 3rd and less than 2 yards. Wayne Wilson stacked up shy first down yardage near the 25. Tom Pridemore in his 5th year out of West Virginia, the man that made the tackle secure. So that lost a yard. It'll bring up 4th and 3.
A little bit surprised at the call. I expected something from the Riverboat Gambler there. He calls most of the plays, Kenny does. About 75% of them. There on 3rd and 3. Tried Wilson around the right side. Didn't work. So the field goal is up.
So we will see Morton Anderson, who has made 2 of 4 field goals. He made a field goal from 45 and 36 yards, missed from 60 and 43. This will be a 42-yard attempt for the Southpaw. It is up, and it is just shy and a little bit wide. So he misses from 42 yards, and the Saints, after taking the opening possession and moving down into field goal range, came away empty.
It looked like he just hit that ball, and it's interesting as New Orleans doesn't capitalize early. Lehman Bennett telling us that he hoped his Atlanta Falcons could get up early so they could use their ball control offense and then possibly have a runaway. New Orleans trying to prevent that, but they missed a golden opportunity right here.
The offensive lineup for the Atlanta Falcons, Steve Bartkowski works with William Andrews, the NFL's all-purpose rushing and pass-catching leader, and of course the veteran offensive line of the Atlanta Falcons. No score, 11:25 left to go. First quarter, the Falcons and the Saints. William Andrews chopped down behind the line of scrimmage. Bruce Clark, the rookie out of Penn State, obtained by the New Orleans Saints in a trade with the Green Bay Packers, the man that made the tackle. And talking about Penn State, well, hats off to Joe Paterno after last night's game right here in the Superdome.
Bruce Clark, of course, the #1 draft choice from Green Bay a few years back, spent some time in Canada. Dennis Winston, remember him at Pittsburgh? He's their defensive MVP. A solid secondary, though. Poe was victimized twice against Washington last week.
Slot formation to the right side. Jackson is out. Jenkins is in. Bartkowski looks now at 2nd down and 10. And the handoff to Lynn Kane. picks up maybe 2 yards, brings up 3rd and 8. Lynn Kane in his 4th year out of USC, tackled by the left inside linebacker Jim Kovach and the left cornerback Dave Waymer. You know, in talking with Lehman Bennett last night at the hotel, he was referring back to the Packers game. He said, we simply have to have better concentration and better execution than we had against Green Bay. And we can't have any more mental mistakes. Last week they had an awful lot of penalties which hurt them in that game against the Green Bay Packers. The book on Steve Bartkowski. William Andrews, power sweep to the left side. First down, Falcons and more. Broke the tackle at the 35, barreled up across the 40-yard line before he was finally chopped down by number 73, Frank Warren.
And if you saw that play, Mike Ken, number 78, Mike Ken was pulling out and led that play, and that's one of the reasons why Mike Ken, number 78, was in the Pro Bowl. Also, one of the reasons William Andrews, as you look at Washington shutting out St. Louis 28-0.
We'd like to welcome the Redskins and Cardinals fans that were watching that game. So the Redskins have secured the home field advantage for as far as they go. The St. Louis loss means that the Falcons now, John, have a chance for home field advantage. So the game takes on added importance for the Falcons very early. Bartkowski to throw on first down. Up near the midfield stripe, about 5 yards shy of first down yardage. Bartkowski was decked on the play by number 75. Bruce Clark was in there, but no flag on the play. And it's Junior Miller on the reception, the big tight end.
If the Falcons are to win today and move the ball, Junior Miller has to be part of the offense. Last week, not one reception. There he comes up with a catch. Now it's 2nd and 5.
Junior Miller, the 5th favorite receiver of Steve Bartkowski, came in with 16 catches, 182 yards, averaging about 12 yards a catch. His longest for 39 yards and 1 touchdown. Backs are Lynn Kane and William Andrews. Bartkowski sets the Falcons down. Jenkins and Jackson, the wide receivers. Jackson in motion to the bottom of your screen. William Andrews inside New Orleans Saints territory at the 49 before he's chopped on down. Jim Kovach in there on the hit. Doesn't he remind you, especially in the red jerseys of the Georgia Bulldogs, of watching Herschel Walker a little bit last night?
Herschel Walker, another great back, of course. Look at the series. Atlanta leads this series 20-7, has won 9 of the last 10 meetings. And you know, Jim, we talked about the rivalry. There is some bad blood here. And all the people on New Orleans said, we want to break that stereotype that we can't beat the Falcons. And this is amazing. Look at that. The Falcons have outscored the Saints 103 points to 10 in the last 3 meetings.
3rd down, less than 2 yards to go. Double tight end alignment. Close to first down yardage as they went with Junior Miller and Keith Prefley at the tight end position. Goes William Andrews over the middle behind R.C. Seelman, the 6-year veteran out of Arkansas.
Jim, as we wait for the measurement, that graphic, that outscoring of 103 to 10, disproves the axiom. A lot of people believe it's almost impossible to beat a team twice in the same season in the NFL. I happen to not believe that is the case.
4th down and less than the length of the football. And the Falcons apparently will punt it away. George Roberts back to do the punting, a 38.5-yard punting average. And number 86 as you look at him, Jeff Groth, back deep for the New Orleans Saints. Roberts, his longest punt, 54 yards. Will kick it away from about the 40-yard line of the Falcons. Will angle it for the near side. And an excellent kick by George Roberts. He nailed it inside the 5, right at the 5-yard line. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the New Orleans Saints. We're scoreless in the first quarter. The Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints, 7:28 to go, 0-0.
We are USA 1. Taking charge with a Chevrolet so versatile, it's part moving van, part school bus, part camper, and part sporty car. The front-wheel drive Chevy Citation, outselling every other front-wheel drive over the past 3 years combined. Now, get 11.9% financing at participating Chevrolet dealers.
You know, there's nothing like getting together for a nice, friendly game of cards. Right. Jim brings the cards.
Uh-oh.
Mickey brings the doll.
Thanks, doll.
And I bring the beer. Light beer from Miller. Light tastes great. It's got a 1/3 less calories than the regular beer. and it's less filling. And you don't want to get filled up when you're dealing with these guys who cut the cards. Oh, no.
Like beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Jim Kelly, John Dockery back with you here at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. We've got a scoreless first quarter, 7:28 left to go in the first quarter. Saints' second possession will start 1st and 10 at their own 5-yard line. Kenny Stabler, 3 out of 4 in the passing department for 45 yards. Morton Anderson missed a field goal try from 42 yards out. George Rogers not in the backfield. Wide receivers left and right now for the New Orleans Saints. Jeff Groth and Lindsey Scott in the backfield. Pokey Guyjon, number 46, along with Jimmy Rogers. Stabler goes up top. Incomplete at the 45-yard line. Looking for Lindsey Scott. Bobby Butler back there in the coverage.
Bobby Butler got good position, wouldn't let Scott run through him, around him. Ball was just overthrown by Stabler.
37 years old. Bum Phillips has a lot of confidence in Kenny. Said he's provided a great deal of leadership to this young team. In fact, you know, John, when we're talking about the leadership, Ken Stabler was unanimously elected captain of the New Orleans Saints. So unanimously, he got 2 more votes than they have players on the team.
I wonder if Bum stuffed the ballot box.
Lindsey Scott, Jeff Groth in there at the wide receivers again. The handoff to Guyjon up across the 10 near the 11-yard line. Buddy Curry, number 50, in there in the tackle defensively for the Falcons.
And Jim, we're going to be talking about number 63, Brad Edelman, a lot today. He's the rookie out of Missouri in red, 63. He was the man who was second in the voting for MVP. Now, an offensive guard, a rookie, that gives you an idea. Look at this score. Chicago, Tampa Bay, 23-23. Of course, Tampa Bay needs a win. 30 seconds left in that game. They need a win or a tie to get into playoffs today.
Andre Thompson is in, along with Jeff Groth. Stabler will look for short yardage and close to first down yardage. Looping out of the backfield, Wayne Wilson, a 4th-year back out of Shepherd. Kuykendall in there on the hit, and it's a first down for the Saints.
You know, excuse me, Jim, go ahead.
Let's go back to that score, the Bears and Tampa Bay. Chicago was up big in that game. Tampa Bay coming back again. Of course, they've had some dramatic finishes in recent weeks. 23 all, the Bears and the Buccaneers. Chicago in the playoffs only if Green Bay would beat Detroit. That game is just starting. Or if Los Angeles were to beat San Francisco. Tampa Bay, if they win the game, they are in. They lose, they can still get in, but it takes more possibilities. Stabler, red hot, near the 22-yard line.
Jim, talking about that game, if that game stays the way it is in a tie, Tampa Bay will make the playoffs.
Well, of course, they'll play sudden death for 15 minutes.
That's right. So we have another 15 minutes. It's interesting, Tampa Bay, the last 2 weeks, they've won 2 games by a grand total of 3 points. They're an incredible comeback team this year in the NFL.
The book on Ken Stabler so far this afternoon. It's 2nd down and 5 yards to go. Andre Thompson to the left side. Jeff Groth to the right side. Lindsey Scott in the slot. 3:27. Wilson gets the call around the left side. Big hole there as Brad Edelman, number 63, and John Hill, the center, helped open it up. Al Richardson came over on the hit. Edelman, the rookie out of Missouri, he's 6'6", 255. That's a program weight. We saw him in the locker room the other day after practice, and he's got to tilt the scales at about 265. And we talked with some of the Atlanta Falcons defensive players and coaches, and they say, well, Jerry Granville said he may be the best left guard to ever play professional football. That's some compliment for a rookie.
It's amazing. We'll pick up on that in a moment.
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. And another first down. Lindsey Scott, the rookie out of Georgia. Al Richardson batted him out of bounds.
Excellent concentration. You think Kenny isn't happy. He nods approval right there as Lindsey Scott shows excellent concentration. There was a defender jumping in front of him. The ball was off his hands, but he keeps his eyes on it and steps out of bounds for the completion. Take a look at another angle. Watch this. Makes the cut, breaks sharply. Good coverage. But still, a defensive back gambles. That's Bobby Butler. He tips it, Scott. Completion, first down.
Kenny Duckett, 83, is in, along with Lindsey Scott. Andre Thompson in the slot to the left side. Wilson and Guyjon are the running backs. Stabler having a field day. Picking the Falcons apart right now. Wayne Wilson looping out of the backfield, picks up 3. It'll bring up 2nd down and 7. Joel Williams, the 4th-year right outside linebacker out of Wisconsin La Crosse.
You talk about a lot of people who were writing Ken Stabler's obituary. He was cut by Houston. No one picked him up. Finally, his buddy Bum Phillips said, look, we'll give you another opportunity to recycle yourself. He's here. He's excited. He's reborn. And he wants to come back, Jim. I was surprised to hear him say that he might even stay here in the offseason and work out. That's unheard of for Kenny Stabler.
A low ball passer and a high ball drinker. Wayne Wilson again. First down again. Take another look. The veteran, 37 years old, the southpaw, Kenny Stabler. He has done it all. He provides on-field and off-field leadership, and he is having a field day right now. They told us they would come out with 3 wide receivers. George Rogers is out injured. They have virtually no running game, and Stabler mixing up the medium to short passing range. Some question, even as we watch the practice, how deep can Ken Stabler still throw the football?
Well, Jim, to realize how much Kenny Stabler wants this game, he's playing with a sore arm.
Stabler now 8 out of 10, 82 yards. Wayne Wilson again. Inside the 35, belted out of bounds. Pickup of 11.
Excuse me, Wayne Wilson, a man that Archie Manning used to love to throw to, called him a great receiver out of the backfield. Good hands, good ability to get open. Here makes a nice move after he catches the ball to get some extra yardage.
Wayne Wilson came into this game with 14 catches, 86 yards, averaging about 6 yards per catch, his longest for 34, and 2 touchdowns. He's already caught 3 or 4 so far this afternoon. Line of scrimmage, the 34-yard line. First and 10 for the New Orleans Saints. Slot formation to the left side. Stabler now is hit on 6 in a row. Holmes and Wilson are the running backs. Make it 7 in a row. Make it very close to first down yardage. Kenny Duckett, number 83, the rookie out of Wake Forest, a 3rd-round draft pick in '82, had 8 catches coming in, 1 for a touchdown.
Make it a fun day for Kenny Stabler. Both teams want a ball control, but they're going to do it differently. Atlanta wants to run the ball with William Andrews. Kenny Stabler wants to throw those short, high-percentage completions, which he's been doing.
Hokie Guyjon, 46. Number 46 is in there. 1 running back spot. Jack Holmes, number 45. Jeff Groth out wide to the left side, along with Kenny Duckett in the slot formation. 2nd and a short 2. Wide open and dropped at the 3-yard line. The 4-year wide receiver out of Bowling Green, and he'll have a chat with Ken Stabler when he comes back into the huddle.
Oh, that's Jeff Groth out of the slot. He's wide open. Watch him coming at the bottom of your screen. Comes across the middle. Atlanta's in his zone. He's wide open. Stabler had a lot of time to throw the ball. Oh, he just didn't concentrate and drop the ball. What a heartbreak for him.
And you can see Kenny Johnson coming in and making the hit. That's one thing the Falcons defense is known for. Whether you catch the ball or not. 3rd down, a short 2, double tight end alignment in there right now. Larry Hardy along with Rich Maudie. Maudie in motion. Close to first down yardage when they unpile. Kenny Johnson in there on the hit on Hokie Guyjon.
You hear the fans, Jim. They want him to go. They came down the first time. They missed a field goal opportunity. You hear the fans exhorting them on. Let's see what Bum does.
He'll go for it on 4th down. He's just sent the play in with Jack Holmes. They've already missed a 42-yard field goal. The Saints, of course, still have a very slim chance of making the playoffs, but the first order of business to beat the Atlanta Falcons. Scoreboard watching doesn't mean a thing if they don't win this football game. First down, New Orleans Saints. Jack Holmes brought the play in, carried it himself, and the free agent out of Texas Southern banged it on home. Tom Pridemore made the tackle for the Falcons.
And you get the idea that that young offensive line from New Orleans has come to play. Edelman Hill in the middle, the veteran, holds it all together.
John Hill, talk about him being a veteran, 11 years out of Lehigh, a free agent. Andre Thompson is back in, number 89, works the left side. Lindsey Scott is over on the right side. Approaching the 10-yard line, Kenny Johnson came over and made the hit. Andre Thompson out of East Texas State.
Watch the top of your screen. Andre Thompson just delays. He wants the other receiver to clear out growth and come across. It's read well by Kenny Johnson. He fumbles the ball, but still holds on to get a few yards. Now it's 2nd and inches, Jim.
2nd and less than a yard to go. Good passing down, but of course Stabler's been enjoying a good passing day. Out wide to the left side. Lindsey Scott, number 80, in the slot is Andre Thompson. Jeff Groth is out to the bottom of your screen. Guy John barrels inside the 10. The blocking of Brad Edelman on the left side, along with John Hill. A very sustained drive by the New Orleans Saints. They're using up a lot of time inside of 30 seconds now in this first quarter. Falcons have only had the ball very briefly for one possession, punted it away. Other than that, it's been all the New Orleans Saints.
The New Orleans Saints haven't exactly been a scoring machine. They've scored only 94 points in 8 games. That's the lowest in the NFL. And down here, a player like George Rogers will help you to take it in, much in the way that Herschel Walker would do it for the University of Georgia, the big back. Guys look for Kenny to put the ball up.
The 15th play of this New Orleans Saints drive is coming up as you see the time winding down in a scoreless first quarter. The Atlanta Falcons, hoping for a home field advantage as far as the playoffs are concerned, know by now that the Washington Redskins have defeated the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 28-0. So the Redskins have secured home field for as far as they can go. What the St. Louis loss means is, of course, that the Atlanta Falcons now can move into the top 4 of the top 8 teams, which will qualify for the playoffs in the NFC. So the game taking on added importance very quickly for the Atlanta Falcons. 0-0, second quarter coming up.
USA 1, taking charge with tough, easy-to-own transportation like Chevy Chevette. While Ford's base Escort suggested retail price went up, the lowest price Chevy Chevette held the line. In fact, this 2-door Chevette is priced over $600 less than Escort held 2-door. And Chevette has millions more owner-driven miles behind it. Chevy Chevette, from America's sales leader. Now, get 11.9% financing at participating Chevrolet dealers.
Some people can afford to make mistakes. You can't. So you became the best you could be, a professional. And now, no matter what your profession, there's a personal computer made just for you. Introducing the Professional, the new personal computer for professionals from Digital, with professional graphics of incredible clarity and accuracy. Professional communications that let you talk to other computers in your office or out. And since you have to do more than one job at a time, so can the Professional. And it's all easy to learn and simple to use. Not even the biggest computer company in the world gives you so much, but the second biggest does. The Professional. The personal computer has just lost its amateur standing. Digital Equipment Corporation. Computers for professionals, from professionals.
They're into overtime at Tampa Bay, the Bucks and the Bears. If Tampa Bay wins, they're in the playoffs. If Chicago loses, they're out. If Chicago wins, they can still get into the playoffs if Green Bay would beat Detroit. What's going on there? The Lions are on top. They can get into the playoffs if Tampa Bay loses. If the Lions lose, they're out. 1st and 10 for the New Orleans Saints, 15th play of the drive. Stabler, as he's done, to the air. Incomplete in the end zone. Lindsey Scott, the rookie out of Georgia, Bobby Butler with fine coverage.
What a nice play by Bobby Butler. Hard to time this. If you're there too early, it's called pass interference. If you're there too late and lay off, it's a touchdown. Bobby Butler gets his hands around the receiver, rips his arms away. That's the difference. See him get his arms around that receiver and pull the ball away from Lindsey Scott.
Kenny Stabler is 11 out of 15 in the passing department for 110 yards. 49ers on top over the LA Rams, or are they the Los Angeles Lambs? It'll be pass interference against the Falcons. It was intended for Lynn, the rookie out of Georgia. Bobby Butler not at all pleased with the call, saying, what can you do?
Oh, they're always picking on those defensive backs. Actually, Butler impeded his progress to the ball. That's the call, I believe, pass interference. We'll listen.
Interference, number 23, defense, first down on the 1-yard line.
Watch Bobby Butler here. They're playing close bump and run. He's trying to ride the receiver. We'll catch it on the right-hand side of your screen. See that right arm? He's leaning. Hard to see in that shot, but before that, he was leaning on the receiver.
The New Orleans Saints have 9 first downs. The Falcons just 1. The Saints 110 yards passing. The Falcons just 5. Maudie in motion. Touchdown, New Orleans.
This is just a power play by the offensive line, and Wayne Wilson running strong. Good body lean, takes it in, bounces off some people. And he's in for his first rushing touchdown of the year, and it's a long way from 1980 when they were the Aints, isn't it, Jim?
What a job Wayne Wilson has done, the free agent out of Shepherd, both on the pass receiving end on this drive and as far as rushing the football. Of course, George Rogers is out. Guido Merkins will hold. And it's perfect. So the New Orleans Saints go 94 yards in 17 plays. They use up 7:43 on the clock, and they punch it in first as Wayne Wilson goes in. The Saints, who have lost 9 of the last 10 to the Atlanta Falcons, on the board. They lead Atlanta 7-0.
Baseball star Jim Palmer.
I hate dandruff.
Can Tegrin control Jim Palmer's dandruff for 3 days without shampooing?
3 days?
Tegrin test, day 1.
Beautiful, so far.
Day 2.
Tegrin's still working. Good thing it's almost airtime.
Day 3.
Tegrin controlled my dandruff 3 days.
Jim Palmer, looking good.
Try Tegrin. It passed the 3-day test.
Tegrin works day after day after day.
Why do 100,000-mile flyers choose United?
When I put in the miles, it pays off down the road, especially with United's Mileage Plus program. The more I fly, the bigger my rewards. All the way up to a free round trip anywhere United flies, even Hawaii. And since United serves more of the top 100 business centers, miles build fast. If your business keeps you running, Plus is a great way to get ahead.
People who fly for a living fly United's friendly skies.
There's the scoring drive, and what a drive it was, with a veteran, Kenny Stabler, mixing up the short and medium passes, Wayne Wilson punching it in. Morton Anderson to Reggie Brown. 1 yard deep. And the swarming Saints defense chops him down at the 15-yard line. Bartkowski and company will bring them out 1st and 10. Now, the Falcons had picked up just 1 first down. Then they punted the ball away. The Saints took it right down. A 17-yard kickoff return. Bartkowski and the Falcons when we come right back.
My American friends introduced me to my favorite beer, light beer from Miller. Now I'm introducing them to my favorite food. With nachos, the best thing about light is it tastes great.
Not bad.
With enchiladas, the best thing is it's got 1/3 less calories than the regular beer. With burritos, the best thing is it's less filling.
Carlos, what's this?
And with jalapeno peppers, the best thing about light is it's cold.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
We are USA 1, and number 1 is taking charge of front-wheel drive with Chevrolet Celebrity, Citation, and Cavalier. With rear wheels removed and snowplows attached, these 3 different size front-wheel drive Chevrolets are demonstrating traction enough to plow snow. Traction that helped make Chevy number 1 in front-wheel drive sales. USA 1. Now, get 11.9% financing at participating Chevrolet dealers.
There you can see the effective Kenny Stabler and ball control offense for the New Orleans Saints. They have struck quickly. They lead it by a score of 7-0. Alfred Jenkins out wide to the left side. Alfred Jackson to the right side for the Falcons. Running backs are Lynn Kane and William Andrews. Bartkowski gets it to Riggs. And a first down for the Falcons approaching the 30-yard line.
It's interesting, Jim, right before we talked to Lehman Bennett yesterday in his hotel room, and he said in his pregame talk to the Falcons that he would stress 3 things: that they'd have to get physical on offense, which they haven't done yet. They'd have to score first. They haven't done that either. And defensively, they'd have to hit with intensity. They haven't done that either.
Jackson to the left, Jenkins to the right. Gerald Riggs gets the call again, tries to go outside, and nothing doing. sandwiched down behind the line of scrimmage. It'll bring up 2nd down and 11. The Bucks and the Bears tied at 23 in overtime, but Tampa Bay has it at the Chicago 10-yard line.
Tampa Bay with a win or a tie, they go to the playoffs.
The ball just shy of the 30-yard line. We've got 13:35 left to go in this first half. 7-0, Saints on top. Gerald Riggs flanked out wide to the left side. Jackson and Jenkins wide to the right in a slot formation. Bartkowski looking at 2nd down and 11. Alfred Jenkins turned it right around on number 44, the third-year defensive back out of Notre Dame, Dave Waymer, and it's a first down for the Falcons, their second, as they pick up 14 yards.
In fairness, if you watch this at the bottom of your screen, you'll see Dave Waymer, number 44, covering Alfred Jenkins. Bottom right-hand side of your screen, he slips. That's why he's there so late. Jenkins makes the catch. Nice throw by Bartkowski, laid it right on target. And of course, Alfred Jenkins, now that streak to 98 games. That's the longest current streak in the NFL for an active receiver.
Jackson at the bottom of your screen, Jenkins at the top, and some motion in the middle of the line. Jeff Van Oat, the veteran center. A 33-yard field goal by Bill Capice for Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay beats the Chicago Bears by 3 points. So Chicago, by losing, they are out as far as the playoffs are concerned. Tampa Bay is in. They up their record to 5-4.
Encroachment, number 74, defense, still first down.
The book on Steve Bartkowski. 1st and 5 after the penalty against the New Orleans Saints. William Andrews, and another penalty flag is down. Andrews chopped down near the 50 by Rob Nairn, the 6-year linebacker out of Oregon State.
You know, Jim, penalties have been a problem all along for the Atlanta Falcons. They are the 2nd most penalized team in the NFL, as we see the call here. 71 penalties for 594 yards. Only the Los Angeles penalized. Last week they had 16 against Green Bay for something like 158 yards. You can't win when you're doing that.
Dick Jorgensen, the referee, another flag against the New Orleans Saints. Penalties, of course, hurting the Falcons over that stretch when they had some problems in the middle of the year.
Encroachment, number 55, defense, lined up in a neutral zone, first down.
You can see what New England is doing to Buffalo. That's a final score. So New England in the playoffs. And Buffalo, of course, is out with that loss. Stacey Bailey, 82, wide to the left side. Alfred Jackson at the bottom of your screen. 1st and 10, Falcons. Bouncing off a host of Saints and still on his feet and fighting inside the 40-yard line, the rookie out of Arizona State, Gerald Riggs. Frank Watlet, 90 on the hit.
Gerald Riggs is one of a halfback playing fullback. Great speed, great size, 6'1", 230. Here he looks like a runaway Brahma bull. Bounces off a number of people. Look at that. Being 2 people hit him right there. Bounces off, keeps running, and then he puts a little shot on Watlet right there. Still doesn't go down, standing as he goes out of bounds.
You know, that New England score, a bit of a surprise, because as many as 30 New England Patriots allegedly have said they want out. 2nd down, short yardage situation. Riggs in the backfield along with William Andrews. Andrews gets the call, and he pulls his way close to the 35-yard line. Should have enough for the first down. Whitney Paul, 7-year linebacker out of Colorado, in there in the tackle for New Orleans.
And you get a sense of nice balance with Steve Bartkowski in the Atlanta offense, not being interrupted by penalties, a problem all year long, as I suggested. Here, another first down, running the ball, completing passes to his backside of the backfield. A nice throw to Alfred Jenkins along the sidelines. Bartkowski in control right now.
We'd like to welcome those of you who watched that dramatic win for Tampa Bay on Bill Capice's 33-yard field goal. Tampa Bay, of course, in the playoffs. Chicago is out. We are 7-0, a 1-yard touchdown run by Wayne Wilson, the Saints and the Falcons. And Atlanta on a drive incomplete at the 23-yard line. Alfred Jackson, the intended receiver. On that drive, as far as New Orleans is concerned, for those of you just joining us, a 94-yard drive. Kenny Stabler mixing up the short passes and the run very effectively. They went 94 yards in 17 plays, and they used almost 8 minutes on the clock. And the Saints lead it by a score of 7-0. New Orleans, as far as the playoff is concerned, must win this game, irregardless of the rest of the scores around the league. They said they won't really be watching the scoreboard. They've got to take care of their business here first. Floyd Hodge, 83, the first-year wide receiver out of Utah, free agent, moves into the slot in the left side along with Alfred Jackson. Alfred Jenkins to the bottom of your screen. Second down, 10 yards to go for the Atlanta Falcons, trailing 7-0. The big tight end, Junior Miller, approaching the 28-yard line, coughed up the football, but after the play was whistled dead. Whitney Paul in there on the hit. And you know, in talking with Ricky Jackson, well, we'll pick up on that in a second. Pittsburgh, they used the tackle-eligible play, and they scored early on the Cleveland Browns, and they thus put away Cleveland. Cincinnati on top over Houston. Ed Biles in trouble as far as the coaching situation goes as the Oilers. Talking to Ricky Jackson, linebacker for the New Orleans Saints, of Junior Miller, he said he might be the best tight end in pro football.
He says he always gives him trouble, Junior Miller. And of course, Ricky Jackson, number 57, the white, an excellent linebacker, much like Hugh Green, who he played with.
Alfred Jackson to the top of your screen. Jenkins to the bottom. In the slot is Billy White Shoes Johnson. Third down, 4 yards to go, and William Andrews, power sweep to the left side, knifes his way close to the 25. And that should be enough if they give him forward progress for a first down. Dennis Winston in there defensively for New Orleans. The New York Giants upset the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium, so the Giants sweep Philadelphia twice.
That's a turnaround. The Giants lost to Washington by a point a couple of weeks ago. Last week they lost in the final seconds, and this week they come back to win by 2.
That puts the New York Giants at 4-5. Keeping their playoff hopes alive. Philadelphia, with that loss, of course, they're out. So we've got Washington 28, St. Louis nothing. The Eagles 24, the Giants 26, and Tampa Bay wins in an overtime field goal by Bill Capice, 26-23. After the spot by referee Dick Jorgensen, just the length of the football shy of first down yardage. The Falcons will go for it on less than a foot. Gerald Riggs and William Andrews in the backfield. First down for the Falcons inside the 25 of New Orleans.
And Jim, you might go for it also. You know, the Pro Bowl picks just came out this weekend. The Atlanta Falcons have 3 offensive linemen on it. Number 78, Mike Ken, who they just ran over that time. R.C. Thielman, the right guard, and Jeff Van Note, the 14-year center out of Kentucky. All Pro Bowlers. So you realize what kind of an offensive line the Atlanta Falcons have.
10 minutes, 55 seconds left to go in the second quarter. Atlanta at one time trailed in the first down department 9-1. You can see they're catching up on this drive. Jenkins to the left side, Jackson to the right side. Out of the backfield, William Andrews. Tackle secure by Jim Kovach.
And you get an idea of what an all-purpose back William Andrews in. Coming into the game, he had 40 catches for over 400 yards. He also had 515 rushing. That's over 1,000 yards. He leads the NFL in total yardage. Marcus Allen is second, Billy Sims third. But Andrews is just an all-purpose back. We've said it before. Maybe the best pure fullback in the game. He runs, he catches, he blocks.
The stats on William Andrews. Second down and 5. Put it down at the 17 at New Orleans. Wide receivers left and right from the power I. Riggs in the tail of the tandem gets the pick back and is chopped down. Ricky Jackson, second-year linebacker out of Pittsburgh, a teammate of Hugh Green on that great Panther team from a couple of years ago.
And it's funny, all of those block allows Ricky Jackson to come penetrating through. Andrews misses him, and that's Jackson in it. But it's interesting when we were talking to Jackson yesterday, you look in his locker, and there, pinned up on his locker, is a picture of Lawrence Taylor. It seems every outside linebacker compares himself to Lawrence Taylor or Hugh Green these days.
Big third down play coming up offensively for the Falcons, defensively for the Saints. New Orleans on the board first, 7-0. 7:25 to go in the quarter. Slot formation to the left side. One running back is William Andrews. Bartkowski will have to throw for it. motion on the line, no flags. So Bartkowski falls on the loose football, and the Falcons will have to try for a field goal. Looked like they just got messed up on the timing between the center and Bartkowski. Jeff Van Oat, the veteran center, a 14-year lineman out of Kentucky. Bartkowski pulled back a little prematurely, so Nick Luckhurst, 8 out of 12 in the field goal department, his longest from 51 yards, will try from the vicinity of the 30-yard line.
And that kind of a fumble, Jim, is something you wouldn't expect. These guys have been doing it together for over 8 years now. Jeff Van Note and Steve Bartkowski, that is.
From the 30, tack on the 10 of the end zone, a 40-yard field goal try for Luckhurst. Snap, spot, kick is perfect, and the Falcons are on the board. After the Saints scored on their second possession, Atlanta comes back and does likewise. New Orleans 7, Atlanta 3. We'll be back in one moment.
Come on along, I'll take you to the lullaby of Broadway. The Hickory and Valley Hoo.
The lullaby of Broadway.
And in the center of it all
is the Milford Plaza.
The Milford Plaza Hotel. Great food, beautiful rooms, irresistible prices tell you we are the lullaby of Broadway.
The Milford Plaza is the lullaby of all Broadway.
Here's big news from GMAC about low financing. Participating GM dealers are now offering low 11.9% GMAC financing on all new 83 GM cars and light trucks. 11.9% financing, not on just a few selected models, but every new GM car and light truck. Offer good until March 31st. See your GM dealer for details.
If you really want it, we can help you get it with GMAC financing.
11.9%.
Tuesday, a world premiere movie. Kate Jackson and Tim Matheson work together, so they're determined not to play together. But rules were made to be broken on Listen to Your Heart.
There you see the Atlanta Falcons scoring drive. 13 plays, 62 yards, almost 6 minutes.
Andre Thompson and Rich Maudie are deep. Andre Thompson, and a flag on the kickoff return. Now another flag thrown. And that generally indicates clipping against the receiving team. Dick Jorgensen, the referee, will explain it. 8:38 left to go in the first half. 7-3, Saints on top over the Falcons. John, in talking with the coaches for New Orleans this week at practice, they seem to think, and we would certainly agree, it was important for this New Orleans Saints team to score first against the Falcons. They've been outscored, as we saw the graphic.
We have 2 fouls after change of possession. Illegal use of hands, number 63. Offense. Personal foul, Sperry, number 25. Defense, it'll be offensive ball at the spot of their foul. First down.
I'm glad he explained it.
The spot will be at the 18-yard line. So the New Orleans Saints, Kenny Stabler and company, as you look at the veteran, going over and talking with referee Dick Jorgensen, will operate 1st and 10. From their own 18, they lead by 4.
We are USA 1. And proving it in Chevy Cavalier with more power from a new high-compression 2-liter engine with electronic fuel injection. Cavalier has it. Accord doesn't. Corolla doesn't. Sentra doesn't. Cavalier has new lower prices for '83, plus a full line of models, including one the leading imports don't even offer. Chevy Cavalier, from America's sales leader, USA 1, is taking charge. Now get 11.9% financing at participating Chevrolet dealers.
Used to good friends. Tonight is kind of special.
Congratulations, you coached a pretty mean game.
Well, I had a pretty good teacher.
Did I teach you the part about the winning coach buying the Lowenbrow?
You got it.
Give me 10 minutes. I gotta go yell at my players.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
So tell me, what'd you say to your teacher?
Told him we were out-coached.
The man with a vest on without the hat is Bum Phillips. He doesn't wear his hat indoors.
A.O. Bum Phillips. I wonder what the OA stands for.
In his second year here in New Orleans, has the Saints 3-5. There's the stats on Kenny Stabler so far this afternoon. Pitch back, Wayne Wilson. He's got the touchdown. Bowls his way up near the 20-yard line, close to the 21. Picks up 3. It'll bring up 2nd down and 7. Jim Laughlin in there on the tackle for the Atlanta Falcons. We're talking about the importance of the Saints scoring first. The Atlanta Falcons have won 5 in a row. In a series they lead 20-7. The last Saints win was way back in 1979. Falcons have won 9 of the last 10. Earlier this year, John, they blew out the Saints 35-0. And we saw the graphic earlier on the dramatic outscoring the Falcons have done to the Saints. So for them to get off to a good start, they had to score first.
And Kenny Stabler told us there's a stigma here we have to remove if we're going to be a contending football team next year.
Stabler looking to the right side, almost, and it is picked off by the Falcons. It'll be 1st and 10 Atlanta at the 46-yard line. Blaine Gason, number 34, the free agent out of Hawaii, came up with the INT.
Bobby Butler, good coverage here, goes up, can't hold it, but here's where the tip drill comes in. Get to the ball, that's what they tell the defensive backs. Blaine Gason does exactly that, gets the interception.
Gason with his first interception of the year, the free agent out of Hawaii, and it'll be 1st and 10 for the Falcons.
If you're going to throw that kind, Kenny Stabler is disgusted. If you're going to throw that kind of pass, you better throw it up and away. And Jim, we'll be back in a moment with the New Orleans Saints leading 7-3 here from the Superdome in New Orleans.
Here's to good friends. Tonight
Hey,
is time to
chicken and rich. Chicken and ribs. Check. Steak.
Must say
Check.
something more somehow.
Chili. Homemade chili. Good work.
Hey, wait a minute.
What did you bring besides your list? Just a little something I threw together. I should have known.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowbrow.
Okay, everybody, let's go win this one.
Now, Old Spice gives you two-fisted protection with original Old Spice deodorant and now new Super Dry Antiperspirant. Both have that famous Old Spice scent. So what's the difference? Old Spice deodorant helps knock out odor. And now new Old Spice Antiperspirant fights odor while it helps wipe out wetness. And they both work overtime. Old Spice, one name that gives you two-fisted protection.
This is a classic shot. Defender, wide receiver, see their eyes wide open looking for that ball. Now watch it as we roll it. Great position by Butler on the inside. Both men go up. The ball is tipped. And there we go. The interception by Blaine Gason.
Bum Phillips, very unhappy, has been chatting with Dick Jorgensen and his officiating crew. There was a penalty against the Saints after the interception. And Bum is very unhappy. Steve Bartkowski, 6 out of 7 in the passing department, 51 yards as the Atlanta Falcons run the short end. You can see Bum about 3 or 4 yards out on the field. I think if he had that hat on, it would have been steamed off by now.
He's not happy. Neither are the fans, Jim.
Well, this is one of the great rivalries involving, of course, two teams that came into the league at approximately the same time. The two cities are only about 400 miles apart. Here's the option pass, and William Andrews tried to get rid of it, and it's sacked behind the line of scrimmage.
William Andrews trying to show that he can throw the ball also, a multi-dimensional back. Here the defense read it wasn't much of a fake by Andrews. He's looking, can't get it away. No luck.
That's Ricky Jackson, second-year linebacker out of Pittsburgh, the man that got over there and got William Andrews. Pressure also by Jim Wilkes, number 44, in his 6th year out of Arkansas. A loss of 2, so it'll bring up 2nd down and 12, and here's where home field comes into play. Wide receivers left and right, Riggs in the backfield along with Andrews. This time Bartkowski will throw it himself, and he's got his man, and he's got a Falcon first down all the way down at the 33-yard line of the New Orleans Saints. 1st and 10 Atlanta.
Alfred Jackson told me last week in practice that this is his favorite pattern. He goes down about 16 yards, then comes back away from the defender, makes the catch for the first down. A perfect throw. Take a look at the pattern again. Here, he drives the defender off, and watch him come back. Comes back 2 or 3 yards towards the ball. He knows where the first down stripe is, makes the reception.
The man he was beaten on the play, Johnny Poe out of Missouri, a 6th-round draft pick in '81. Wide receivers are left and right. Jenkins to the left side. William Andrews gets the call, and he bowls his way, keeps those knees churning all the way down to the 24-yard line. He got the last 3 yards simply on power.
Well, you talk about a man that finishes his run. We've talked about that before. Guys like Wilbert Montgomery, Walter Payton, Andre Franklin, those guys that just keep fighting for that extra yardage. William Andrews does that.
Andrews came in with 125 carries, 516 yards, averaging 4.1 yards per carry. And there's what he's done so far this afternoon, 5 touchdowns. Jenkins to the left side, Floyd Hodge out of Utah, number 83 to the right side. Andrews and Gerald Riggs. Riggs in the tail of the tandem out of the power I. Riggs gets the call. And Riggs takes it down to the 16-yard line. Bruce Clark, the rookie out of Penn State, and Frank Watlett in there in the tackle.
We talked about William Andrews running the ball, catching the ball. Watch him lead block here. He knocks Russell Gray on his back on the lead block. See the right of your screen, takes him right down, opens it up for Gerald Riggs to cut back inside for a good gain.
Inside of 6 minutes left to go in the first half. The Saints 7, the Falcons 3. Atlanta with New Orleans here in the Superdome. And of course, as far as the Falcons are concerned, with that St. Louis loss, they've got a chance to move into the top 4 and secure home field. Jenkins to the left, Hodge to the right. Intercepted by the Saints. They'll have it 1st and 10 at the 7-yard line. Dennis Dirt Winston out of Arkansas came up with the INT.
He may have come up. Winston may have come up with the interception, but it was Jim Kovac, who's the man that hit Andrews out of the backfield to cause the ball to pop up in the air. Simple circle pattern. Watch that. Kovac knocks it up. Winston comes over to make the interception. New Orleans gets the ball back. We'll be back in a moment.
Did you know that there is an inexpensive, fuel-efficient car engineered in Germany that is so fast, so sure-footed, and possessing such remarkable brakes that you could very well look forward to seeing these signs as long as you own this one, the Volkswagen Rabbit. It expects the unexpected.
Was Gillette foamy thick and rich enough to restrain a rushing roller coaster? No. So we improved foamy. We made it even thicker and richer. So now is new improved foamy thick enough and rich enough?
No. But if you thought your foamy gave you clean, close shaves, just wait till you see how much thicker and richer new improved foamy is.
New improved foamy. We made it even thicker and richer.
January 15th on CBS Sports, Heisman runner-up John Elway, coached by his father, against Illinois' Tony Eason in the East-West Shrine Game here on CBS Sports.
In 2 weeks, it's the 58th annual East-West Shrine Game. 2 of college football's best quarterbacks are scheduled to compete in this classic. Stanford's John Elway and Illinois' Tony Eason. And, of course, you'll see a lot of passing in that football game. It'll include North Carolina's Kelvin Bryant, Stanford's Vince White. So be here on Saturday, January the 15th at 3:45 Eastern Time, the East-West Shrine Game on CBS Sports. Jeff Groth out to the left side. Kenny Stabler hands it off inside, and they'll mark his forward progress at about the 1-yard line. So a loss of 3 on the play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 13 yards to go. A swarming Falcons defense led by Don Smith, 65. Jeff Merrow, 75, is in there, and Joe L. Williams, 58, the right outside linebacker.
Tough spot for Kenny Stabler. There's a final on Miami burying Baltimore. Baltimore goes winless.
Well, they get the first draft pick.
John Elway could be a franchise, but what do you do when you already have a top quarterback? Art Schlichter last year picked number 1.
Stabler will fire for the first down. Got Lindsey Scott. He's got a first down and a flag on the play. There's a flag to be checked out. Falcons are claiming it's offensive pass interference.
Kenny Johnson, number 37. See him coming into your screen. He's pointing to Lindsey Scott, telling him, get your hands off me. You can't do that. And there's Lindsey Scott.
The rookie out of Georgia, number 80, Lindsey Scott, came into the game with 15 catches for 230 yards. Number 1 draft pick last year. The last 2 calls going against the Saints, the crowd reacting, and Bum Phillips not happy.
Interference, number 80. Offense, still second down.
All those receivers. Watch it here. Lindsey Scott. Butler's Johnson's playing bump and run. Scott puts his arm, pushes away on Johnson to make the catch. Good call by the referee.
John Dockery, former defensive back for the New York Jets.
Are you suggesting?
Likes any call that goes against defensive back. Stabler in trouble, but he's got a receiver up near the 20-yard line. 1st and 10 for the New York.
First down.
Beat Earl Jones, the third-year left side cornerback out of Norfolk State. Third-round pick, and there is Ken Stabler having some fun this afternoon. 3 wide receivers with George Rogers out of the lineup. They line up in a slot formation to the left side. And another penalty flag is thrown. Wayne Wilson looping out of the backfield. The ball was thrown slightly behind him, but the back judge has fired the penalty flag.
Defensive holding. One goes against Atlanta.
Moves the ball up to the 25.
Holding, number 36, defense, first down.
Let's check some scores around the NFL today. Rams have tied it up against the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, that helps the New Orleans Saints. They're hoping that the Rams can upset the 49ers. Look what Detroit is doing to Green Bay. The Lions upset Green Bay in Green Bay earlier this year. They're playing at home today. The Raiders on top over San Diego. Home field for the Chargers if they can win. Slot formation to the right side. 4:03 left to go in the first half. Saints lead by 4. Screen pass to the left side. Wayne Wilson looks for a block, doesn't get it, and is chopped down at the 30. He'll be shy of first down yardage. Bob Glazebrook with a good tackle.
He tried to cut back. Tough thing to do. He might have done better by staying with that convoy. Kelvin Clark out in front. But he didn't. He cut back, didn't make too much. About 2nd and 5.
You don't think the Packers are having a letdown themselves after their big game in Atlanta, do you?
Looks like it. Well, they were sky high against Atlanta. Never gave Atlanta a chance. Did you look at Wayne Wilson receptions?
Slot formation to the right side. Stabler, a little delay. Wayne Wilson, first down for the Saints. At the 41-yard line. Pridemore came up. Helped out on the play by Geisen.
This is good blocking by the offensive line. Also a nice call, a little draw here. Watch Kelvin Clark, number 78, gets through. Gets good blocking from number 63, Brad Edelman. He gets those extra yards on his own, though, Jim.
Of course, George Rogers is out, the outstanding running back for the New Orleans Saints. Bum Phillips has had, well, he's had lots of problems with his running backs. He was happy at practice the other day just to see Wilson limping. Wouldn't know he was injured off of today's performance, however. 1st and 10 for the Saints at the 41. 2:44, 2:43. They go to a double slot formation. Stabler audibleized. Got his man, and another first down. Jeff Groth again. Inside Falcon territory all the way down to the 42 of Atlanta. Wayne Geisen on the tackle.
They're trying to get in a man-and-man situation. That's exactly what it is. It's Groth on Earl Jones. Breaks outside. The ball is well thrown. Groth picks up a little extra on his own after the catch as Jones goes down.
An 18-yard pickup for Kenny Stabler, who's having a field day. 9 seconds to go before the 2-minute warning. Let's see if Stabler gets this play off. 5, 3. Now there's a flag on the play. Let's see if there was motion before the time expired for the 2-minute warning. Dick Jorgensen, the referee.
2-minute warning before the snap. It'll still be first down. 2-minute warning.
Break for the Saints. So when we come right back, the New Orleans Saints will have the football. They'll have it at the 42-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons. They've got a 4-point lead and 3 timeouts with which to work.
This place is real special. We wouldn't trade one of our days up here for anything, except maybe for one of our nights.
Welcome to Miller Time. It's all yours, and it's all mine. Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer for what you have in mind. Welcome to Miller Time.
The best
beer for the best time of the day. Miller High Life.
Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer for what you had in mind. Oh, welcome. You know you're welcome. Welcome. Everybody's welcome. Welcome to Miller Time. Yours and mine.
Jim Kelly, John Dockery, welcome back to the Superdome here in New Orleans. We'll join Brent Musburger and Irv Cross with all the scores and highlights around the NFL today, as Brent and Irv will help to put that playoff picture into perspective. It's constantly changing, of course, with almost every score update because of all the various tie-breaking situations, and a great halftime feature on a couple of players who are retiring at the end of this year.
Yes, it's hard to say goodbye as you look at the time of possession. Of course, Roger Worley, 14 years with the Cards. Mel Gray, 12 years, a great receiver. Ahmad Rashad also leaving some of the players that were saying goodbye to the NFL after great careers. We'll have that at halftime with Brent.
What a shame to see Ahmad Rashad have to bow out with an injury after the great career he's had with the Vikings in Minnesota in the playoffs. Is there any chance at all that Ahmad could be back if the Vikings get very far?
I think the prospects are slim. I believe his injury is fairly serious.
You saw the stats on Kenny Stabler, 152 yards, and he's been picking apart the Falcons secondary, and he's got another first down, or very, very close to it. Kenny Duckett, the rookie out of Wake Forest. Bobby Butler is the man who finally wrestled him out of bounds. From the end zone, you take another look.
Duckett, here's a question of a defensive back struggling so hard to recover that he doesn't find the ball, and Duckett comes up with it. Watch Butler struggling to recover, doesn't see the ball, does the reception, and it's second and only inches now, Jim.
Just shy of first down yardage. You know, unless you're a New Orleans Saints fan, you're not familiar with names like Kenny Duckett, like Jeff Crow, like Lindsey Scott, and perhaps Andre Thompson. But Ken Stabler, the veteran, has kind of brought a unification to these receivers, working out extra on his own with them in practice. Wayne Wilson, he's got the touchdown. And he will be stacked up, I believe, shy of first down yardage. Time left in the first half. Al Richardson on the hit, third year out of Georgia Tech. And Mike Perko, the rookie out of Utah State. Boy, you talk about Georgia, you talk about Georgia Tech. Most of the state of Georgia was here for the Sugar Bowl last night, of course, with the Falcons, and Atlanta's only 400 miles away. This city's covered with a lot of red, isn't it?
It sure is, and this is a rivalry. As you see the markings on the field still from the Sugar Bowl, the 49th annual Sugar Bowl, Penn State and Georgia. Of course, Penn State winning a claim on the national championship last night. We were there, Jim. What a night.
Be just shy of first down yardage. 7-3, the Saints on top over the Falcons. 1:47 left to go in the first half. And the veteran, Kenny Stabler, at the controls. Who's the best quarterback you've ever seen at working the 2-minute clock?
You know, I've working the 2-minute clock. I have to say that certainly a guy like Roger Staubach was one of the best. Of course, he works with us now at CBS. Kenny Stabler's a good one also. He has that quick release, that dart thrower type of release that's hard to defend against.
You played with Namath as far as the New York Jets.
He was tough. But Roger Staubach has to be the number one, I think. There goes the ball. It's a fumble.
Loose football, and the Falcons have apparently recovered. Pile up at the 32-yard line. Well, let's see if the play was dead or if the Falcons indeed have the football. First down for Atlanta. Costly mistake for the New Orleans Saints, and it gets Atlanta a big break just before halftime. And a fellow who's pretty good at working that 2-minute clock himself, Steve Bartkowski, comes in with the good arm and a couple of good wide receivers in Alfred Jackson and Alfred Jenkins, and William Andrews looping out of the backfield. 1:39 to go in the first half. Atlanta on the short end by just 4.
The German engineers who built the Volkswagen Scirocco were obsessed with aerodynamics and passionate about precision. They also look forward to a pleasant Sunday drive.
Ausgezeichnet.
Ausgezeichnet. Compare dandruff shampoos. There's good, there's better, and then there's blue. Selsun Blue, the best dandruff shampoo money can buy. Clinical testing among leading brands proved it works best with more complete dandruff control. Selsun Blue is the only leading brand with the anti-dandruff ingredient doctors recommend most. Remember, there's good, there's better, and there's blue. Selsun Blue. It simply works the best.
Next Saturday and Sunday on CBS Sports, postseason action as they battle for the NFC crown and a spot in the Super Bowl. Great regional action next weekend on CBS Sports.
John, not sure Wilson ever had the ball in the handoff from Ken Stabler.
It looks like a high handoff. Normally a running back wants that handoff around the belly button. Here it's a little bit high, and that's hard to do when you consider that Wilson is 6'3", but it was a bad handoff too high by Stabler.
Ball squirting out in the middle of the pile, picked off by the Falcons. 1st and 10 for Atlanta. They trail by 4. Billy White Shoes Johnson, Floyd Hodge in there now. Bartkowski with Gerald Briggs and William Andrews in the backfield. Nickel defense for the New Orleans Saints. Bartkowski misfired, intending it for Gerald Riggs up near the 38. He turned outside. The ball was thrown inside.
Exactly right. Of course, Gerald Riggs, a rookie. One of the hardest things for any rookie in the NFL is to learn how to run pass patterns out of the backfield of complicated offensive systems. At times, Riggs turned the wrong way. Bartkowski threw outside.
Don't forget, coming up at halftime, Brent and Irv will have all the scores around the NFL today and put the playoff picture into perspective. In our halftime feature, it's hard to say goodbye to fellows like Mel Gray, Ahmad Rashad, and others. 2nd down, 10 yards to go at the 33-yard line. Falcons on the short end, 7-3. Bartkowski fires over the middle to Gerald Riggs, sandwiched down at the 37, way shy of 1st down yard. And you can see the intensity right there. The Saints defense, Jim Kobach, 4-year linebacker out of Kentucky.
Exactly right. That time Bartkowski and Riggs got together.
Falcons utilize one of their timeouts. They've got 1:25 left to go, still on the short end by 4. Bartkowski to go over and talk over things with Coach Lehman Bennett.
Welcome to Miller Time. It's all yours, and it's all mine. Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer for what you have in mind. Welcome to Miller Time, yours and mine.
The best beer for the best time of the day. Miller High Life.
I refinished this beautiful piece all by myself, and I can't even change a light bulb.
A pro wanted $300 to refinish this. I did it myself for $15.
Formby's furniture refinisher can make a believer out of you because it works unlike anything you've ever seen. It dissolves old varnish lacquer shellac without stripping, sanding, or scraping. With my furniture refinisher, it's a pleasure to create a treasure.
Homer Formby. No one knows wood as good.
Many stores now have special values on my furniture refinisher.
Timeouts remaining for the Falcons. They've got the football. It's 3rd down and 6 yards to go. They'd like to keep the drive alive, obviously. Slot formation to the left side. Jenkins wide to the left. Hodge is in the slot. Jackson to the bottom of your screen. Bartkowski will need 6. Andrews, the lone setback. The ball misfired by Bartkowski. Alfred Jackson running a deep fly pattern. Bartkowski throwing it as if he was doing a curl to the outside.
Total confusion on the offensive team by the Falcons there. The New Orleans Saints had 4 down linemen to get the rush. They had their extra linebacker in there, Whitney Paul. They played good coverage in the secondary. They got a decent rush, but Bartkowski was just confused.
Credit also the secondary of the New Orleans Saints. They've done a pretty good job of shutting down Jenkins, Jackson, and company. George Roberts will punt it away. Back deep is Jeff Groth, number 86. And Ken Stabler and company will have about 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, and they've got 3 timeouts they can use. Good. Line drive kick. Marty fields cleanly to the 15. Looks to go to the sideline. Fights his way across the 20, up near the 28-yard line. And here comes Ken Stabler and company. A 53-yard punt by George Rogers, and a fine return, setting up the Saints in good field position.
I'd love to watch a master like Stabler work in this situation. I don't think he'll be content to sit on a 7-3 lead. He has those 13 years of experience. I'd love to watch him work the clock. He's got his full 3 timeouts left, 1 minute 8 left in the half.
Lindsey Scott, the rookie out of Georgia, down to the bottom of your screen. Up to the top side, Kenny Duckett. Wide open, and then dropped at the 31. Wayne Wilson out of the backfield. Lindsey Scott went down and cleared the zone. And that time Wilson, I believe, simply heard some footsteps coming.
Al Richardson's footsteps, number 56.
That's the intimidation factor the Falcons defense plays, though. They make you pay for the ball whether you catch it or not. You know you're going to get banged, and banged pretty good.
Never was a case more true than the Falcons. The sum is far greater than the individual parts as you look at San Francisco leading the LA Rams 14-7.
Second down and 10 from the 28. Stabler in and out of the hands again of Wayne Wilson. You saw 49ers were on top over the Rams by a score of 14-7. What's going on at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, another of the Dome stadiums? The Packers coming back against the Detroit Lions. Of course, Atlanta's playoff possibilities. New Orleans playoff possibilities hinging on that game a large. We'll talk about that in just a second. It is third down and 10 yards to go. They dump it off to Wayne Wilson. And Wilson with a good move to the outside picks up the first down.
Good call, excellent move by Wilson. He faked inside, then got outside. Of course, we're talking about time. With 50 seconds left, he saves a timeout.
I'll tell you who threw the big block, the man we've been talking about, Brad Edelman, number 63, the rookie out of Missouri. But Wilson, with a nifty little stutter step, first went to the inside, threw him the hip, and then took it away. There's the Edelman. Now watch the block he throws out here, and watch the move that Wilson puts on.
Edelman puts a good shot on Al Richardson, and then a good move by Wilson. Doesn't get out of bounds, but they use a timeout to stop the clock.
We were talking about the New Orleans Saints playoff possibilities. Let's pick up on that. The Saints must win this game against Atlanta before any other variables come into play. If the Saints can beat the Atlanta Falcons, then they qualify for the playoffs only if the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers both lose.
It does get complicated. You sure you don't have a computer in the booth here? Bum Phillips doesn't really care about that. He told us the reason he wants to win this game is to keep his team on the track, get them believing in themselves, get rid of this whole idea that they can't beat the Atlanta Falcons, and continue to build that foundation we talked about at the top of the show.
Well, you talk about a foundation. Bum Phillips has been here for 2 years. He was named the coach in 1981 and then the general manager February of 82. His 8th year as the head coach, Bum Phillips, of course. He took Houston into the playoffs 3 of the 6 years that he was there, including 2 times into the AFC Championship game, which he lost out to the eventual Super Bowl winner. But he's got the New Orleans Saints on the right track here. First and 10, Ken Stabler. Sideline left, simply threw that away. Saw excellent coverage that time by the Atlanta Falcons defensive back, Earl Jones, number 20, over there in pursuit.
Really didn't have anyone open, just threw it away. As you said, stops the clock, 46 seconds left.
You know, another interesting thing that Bum was telling us over at the Saints practice complex the other day, he's not so sure that qualifying for the playoffs with a banged-up, injured football team is the best way to go for these youngsters. He said he doesn't want to get the stigma that was attached to Tampa Bay earlier on, where they get into the playoffs and then got blown out in the first round. If he qualifies for the playoffs, he wants to go in there with his strength, and he doesn't have that right now because George Rogers is not healthy. Stabler fired that one out of bounds in the face of a good pass rush. In fact, Stabler goes down and said, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Look at him talking to Smith, Donnie Smith, the fourth-year man out of Miami, saying, take it easy on me. Don't you know I'm 37 years old? Oh, throwing the ball away, yes.
And a penalty flag, roughing the passer will be called against Atlanta. So that'll give the New Orleans Saints a key first down. It would have been 3rd and 10 on the incompletion, and it moves the ball all the way down to the 45-yard line of Atlanta.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, 65, defense, first down.
Crucial penalty right there because there are 41 seconds left to go, and the Saints have 2 timeouts.
The man we talked about, the nose guard, Don Smith, number 65, tough and nasty.
Stabler sacked 7 times in the 35-0 Atlanta pasting up at Fulton County Stadium. First and 10 for the New Orleans Saints. Lindsey Scott to the left side. Rich Maudie to the top of your screen. In the slot, Andre Thompson. A good move by the veteran, Kenny Stabler. You saw him start to scramble, and he quickly calls timeout.
Well, you know Kenny Stabler does not want to scramble with that aging body and all the injuries that he has. Wisely, he comes up, finds a receiver, good for 17 yards and a first down.
With the helmet off, Kenny reminds you a little bit of Willie Nelson, doesn't it?
Give him a microphone. Let's hear a few bars.
Pickup of 17 yards. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Saints. They're on a drive. They've got it inside the 30-yard line of Atlanta, and they've got a 4-point lead.
He's William Andrews of the Atlanta Falcons, a United Way volunteer for the Epilepsy Foundation here in Atlanta.
How many people in the United States have epilepsy?
There are over 2 million people in the United States alone that have epilepsy. There's 100,000 new cases every year. I'm blessed. My child is healthy and normal. Maybe that's why I felt that I had to help kids like Trey Clark and all the young people who suffer from epilepsy.
We can all make it with love and understanding if you'll just give us a chance.
I wanted to know more, and I wanted to help, so I've worked with these kids. Now, through the work of the Epilepsy Foundation, which is supported in part by your contributions to the United Way, we're reaching new levels of understanding and hope. Thanks to you, it works for all of us, the United Way, right? Right!
The preceding message was brought to you by the National Football League. 32 ticks left to go on the clock for this man, who suddenly is rejuvenated since coming to the New Orleans Saints and feels that there are lots of ticks left on his clock. He wants to come back. He's excited. And there's the book on Stabler so far this afternoon. Now, let me ask you this. He's been working primarily on the cornerbacks, not so much over the middle. We haven't seen him utilize the tight end very much. Do you think maybe he'll try to set something up?
One of the problems is that his starting tight end, Brenner, is out. Hardy is in there.
Wayne Wilson again. He turns the corner inside the 23 and out of bounds to wisely stop the clock.
Wayne Wilson, like so many of the backs in the NFL, you have to be able to catch it out of the backfield. Here he just comes out working on the linebacker. Stabler finds him, gets the completion. 2nd down and 5, gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
Wayne Wilson, in his 4th year, a free agent out of Shepherd, came in the receiving department with 14 catches. He's had 9 catches for 73 yards so far this afternoon. 2nd down, 5 yards to go from the 23. Penalty flag is down. Stabler's got an incompletion intended for Lindsey Scott, but a flag thrown down at about the 25-yard line. Holding against the New Orleans Saints.
Kenny Stabler, as we mentioned before, came into this game. He didn't play last week against Washington. He has a sore left forearm. And on that particular play, he didn't have any steam behind the ball. It was almost intercepted by Pridemore.
Holding, number 45, offense, still 2nd down.
You know, in talking to a good friend of yours, the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, Jerry Glanville, last night, he said, we usually play pretty well defensively against Stabler, and we give him a hard time.
That's Jack Holmes on the penalty. You see him tackle the linebacker there. Looks like Joel Williams coming in. Holmes on a holding penalty.
Slot to the left side. 2nd down and 15 yards to go. Now they shift. Incomplete, and a penalty flag against the Falcons at the 11-yard line. Bobby Butler called for the 2nd time pass interference.
Take a look at it again. Lindsey Scott running the quick out. Great speed out of Georgia, the rookie, #1 draft choice. Butler on the inside. They're both using their arms.
Looked like
There's the penalty flag.
Looked like he got his right arm up on Lindsey. Those two have been having some battle. They've each been called for pass interference.
And
interference, number 23, defense. 1st down.
And you're talking about 2 outstanding tackles, talents in the NFL. Bobby Butler, the #1 draft choice of the Falcons, and also Lindsey Scott, the #1 draft choice of New Orleans. 2 fine talents going at it this afternoon.
A couple of crucial penalties against the Falcons, though, John, on this drive. First, the roughing the passer, which kept it alive and gave New Orleans a big 1st down. And now, obviously, this one with 16 seconds left to go. Touchdown! Kenny Duckett.
Kenny Johnson. As a cornerback, you cannot allow a receiver to get inside you on the goal line. It's an easy throw for a receiver. Actually, the ball was behind him. Kenny Johnson expecting help inside. Didn't get it. Touchdown, Kenny Duckett.
Is he a happy man? The rookie out of Wake Forest, his second touchdown catch of the year for the third-round draft pick. And Kenny Stabler has just fired his sixth touchdown of the year. Morton Anderson out of the hold of Guido Merkins. Saints go up on top by 11 over the Atlanta Falcons. Take another look at the touchdown again. Kenny Stabler, his sixth touchdown toss of the year.
And of course, he's a left-hander. He's looking that direction, fires. It's behind the receiver, but Johnson is too loose down near the goal line. The reception and a touchdown. Kenny Duckett.
72 yards in 7 plays. 2 costly penalties against the Falcons. The roughing the passer call against Jeff Van Oat, or excuse me, against Don Smith, the nose tackle. And then, of course, the other pass interference call, the second of the game, incidentally, against Bobby Butler.
You just saw Kenny Duckett along the sidelines, number 83. He has an extra problem to overcome as you look at our score, 14-3. New Orleans goes on top late here in the second quarter. Kenny Duckett is a diabetic, and he had a broken finger and a sore shoulder, has problems getting back into that rhythm of knowing how much insulin, how much of an injection does he have to, because every time his diet or his physical activity changes, he has to make an adjustment in his injection. So Kenny Duckett has had his problems getting back in the groove after some injuries. Right there, he got a touchdown.
And you know what Bum Phillips was telling us about at practice, that a late game like today causes all kinds of problems for Kenny because it throws his meal schedule off. Squib kick. Falcons cover at the 38, and they've got 11 seconds left on the clock. You see that they went 72 yards in 7 plays, 2 costly penalties against Atlanta. They used up just 56 seconds, and Stabler, a scoring strike of 11 yards to the rookie out of Wake Forest. Let's see what Bartkowski and company come up with now. They've got 2 timeouts remaining. And certainly with Jenkins and Jackson, and given the history of these 2 teams, the dramatic come from behind win a couple of times with a Hail Mary deflected pass, you'd expect them to go long. Jenkins and Hodge to the slot on the right side, and that's exactly what they'll do, and Bartkowski throws it about as far as he can. And it's complete and then batted free at the 18-yard line. In and out of the hands of Alfred Jenkins. He had it, and it was finally stripped free by one of the New Orleans Saints defenders. I believe it was number 20.
You have to be a little surprised, Jim, that Alfred Jenkins, all 5 feet 9 inches of him, can get up in this group of defensive backs and almost come down with the reception.
It was Stacy Bailey who was in there, but Russell Gary, the second-year defensive back out of Nebraska, made a crucial defensive play. How did 2 wide receivers get that open on 4 defensive backs? Especially when the defensive backs are about 20 yards deep, 4 across the field. That should never happen. 2 seconds left to go. 14-3. Saints on top over the Falcons. But we've got 30 minutes left to go, and this is a very intense rivalry. This one's far from over. Partially deflected. Incomplete at the 20-yard line. 6 defenders, 2 receivers. We're at halftime. And you can hear the crowd reacting after a 35-0 whitewash. The Saints with a slim chance of the playoffs. The Falcons battling for home field. We've got 30 minutes to go.
Oh. Thank you, Payne Weber.
I like it. I love it. I'll take it. Thank you, Payne Weber.
In this highly competitive financial world, Payne Weber believes the quality of life just might depend on the quality of your investments.
When the biggest newspaper in Oklahoma bought 40 Volkswagen diesel pickups, we weren't surprised. It has a tough double-wall bed. It's the best mileage pickup in America. And no matter what the weather, these pickups crisscross Oklahoma, hauling up to half a ton of newspapers every day. So, if you ask the folks at the Daily Oklahoman about Volkswagen, they'll probably say what we've been telling you for 25 years. Volkswagen delivers.
Nothing tastes like Hawaiian
1983 on CBS Sports. It's gonna be a year to remember. The Daytona 500. World Cup skiing. The World Figure Skating Championships. The NCAA Basketball Championship. The Masters. The NBA Championship. The Belmont Stakes. The Pan Am Game. The U.S. Open Tennis Championships. 1983 on CBS Sports. It's gonna be a year to remember.
Welcome back to New York Irv. On this day, Mark Mosley misses, and Ronaldo Nehemiah scores his first touchdown. The New England Patriots upset the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay goes to the playoffs, and one spot still up in the air. But let's get you up to date now with all the scores. The most dramatic game of the day so far unfolded down in Tampa. And hats off to Doug Williams. He came back from an injury and pulled it out for the Buccaneers. The Bears' defense dominated this game early. Here is Wilson snatching the ball before it hits the turf, and then he dashes on in for a Chicago score. Doug Williams and the Bucs did not quit.
Well, I think what had happened, we went in the dressing room and we knew that they only had 20 points and they really should have had more. And we wasn't playing the type of football that we was capable of playing.
Doug's most effective weapon is tight end Jimmy Giles, who can beat you deep, much like a wide receiver. All Doug has to do is get him isolated one-on-one. Then after that, they just turned it over to Bill Capice, and he won it in overtime.
This one was just a short one. Doug ran one play to the middle and got me set up, and I just went there, kept my head down, and followed through, and then it was over with.
And here it is, the kick that put Tampa Bay back into the playoffs, a 43-yarder by Capice.
I feel great. We're the Cardiac Kids.
The Cardiac Kids, indeed. Let me give you a couple of AFC scores that, of course, had a bearing on home field advantage. The Jets were destroyed by Kansas City 37-13. Meanwhile, Kenny Anderson shut down Houston 35-27. And what it all means is that regardless of what happens now in the Los Angeles-San Diego game, the Jets must go into Cincinnati for the first round of the playoffs. Now the Giants and Philadelphia. The Giants still clinging to a thread of hope. 26-24, Danilo pulls it out with the field goal. As for Cleveland and Pittsburgh, well, Cleveland is drug on into the playoffs, 37-21. They were screaming and yelling. They are the first team with a sub-500 record ever to make the NFL playoff picture because New England downed Buffalo 30-19 was the count in that game. And, Irv, I think you've got some highlights.
You would think it was summertime, wouldn't you, Brent? According to the crowd, that Joe Ferguson, Buffalo, goes up top and hits number 80, Jerry Butler, for a score. And the Bills seem to have things well in hand. Ron Meyer knew he had to get his offense going, and he called on Steve Grogan to go to the air to two of his big receivers. Number 88, Morris Bradshaw, catches this one for a touchdown. Then he comes back later and hits number 80, Don Hasselbeck, for a score. And the New England Patriots, who everybody thought would fall apart because there was dissension up there, wound up winning the ballgame.
I think Chuck Knox may go elsewhere next year.
It's possible.
Indeed. They wind up on the season 4-5. Seattle would be interested in Knox, and the Greek reminds me that Detroit once upon a time was very interested in him, too. Miami, meanwhile, shoots down Baltimore 34-7, so the Colts, under the commander Frank Kush, go winless this year. Washington shuts out St. Louis 28-0 was the final in that game as the Redskins roll. Now, we have some games that are still in progress, of course. You're enjoying this game. The Saints trying to get into the playoffs. Not if you're an Atlanta fan, however. 14-3. Meanwhile, in the third inning, it's 3-2. Seattle over Denver in that game. Detroit and Green Bay. This is a good football game. Lions lead it by 3, 17-14 right now. The Raiders and the Chargers 10-3, and the scenario there is if the Raiders win it, they will be the top seed in the AFC. If they lose it, that honor will go to the Miami Dolphins. And finally, the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. It is 20-7 right now. The 49ers with the lead. And we can see Dana McLemore on this punt return get an alley on the left-hand side. Ronnie Lott is the bodyguard. He screens off the last would-be tackler, and McLemore steps on into the end zone.
But the Rams come back with Wendell Tyler, number 26, catching a pass from the 3-yard line, Brent. I tell you, you know, how often have you seen Joe Montana go to work to his wide receivers? Number 85, Wilson, is hit there on the and goes in for a 19-yard touchdown reception. Montana again rolling to his right, going deep. Ronaldo Nehemiah, the speedster, right? 29-yard touchdown pass.
Surprised he scored. He did not have a hurdle to jump. The NFL Today will continue on CBS after these messages from your local stations.
Monday on CBS, a visiting UN team turns the MASH camp upside down.
My complaints are falling on deaf feet.
And Newhart sits onto the ski slopes where disaster lurks.
When you get to the bottom of the hill, how do you actually stop?
Then Suzanne Summers reports for duty overseas, singing and dancing with her special guest, Jonathan Winters, the Pointer Sisters, the exciting Susan Anton, Suzanne Summers, and 10,000 GIs following MASH and Newhart. Great moments Monday.
This is CBS.
Welcome back to the news desk in New York. And, of course, some of the outstanding players of the last decade in the NFL are retiring today and after the NFL tournament. And a few of these boys of autumn are already feeling wistful as they prepare for the transition from football to a more humdrum way of life.
Playing his final season for the Big Red, number 85, Mel Gray.
Four-time All-Pro Mel Gray is retiring after 12 years, over 350 catches and more than 6,600 yards. But as his Cardinal teammate, All-Pro cornerback Roger Worley will tell you, it's not the numbers, it's the people you'll miss the most.
Well, I think it's hard to explain to somebody that's not in football, just the feeling of the camaraderie of the players, you know, the friends that you make, had throughout the years are the things that I'll remember the most.
Worley will also remember this, his last great moment, because during last Wednesday's practice, a knee injury ended his career on a sad note. Another former Cardinal, Bobby Moore, is retiring as the brilliant Ahmad Rashad of the Vikings.
The positive things in football and professional football over the 10 years that I've learned is I've learned what it takes to be successful. What kind of hard work, what kind of dedication it takes to be a winner. And I can take these things that I have learned from professional football, incorporate them into my life, and I think I'm going to be a winner. And I feel very good about that. In thinking back of those years that I spent playing football, I can't think of any better way I could have spent my 20s. I mean, during my 20s, I had a ball.
Throughout his 20s and most of his 30s, Gene Upshaw and his teammate Art Shell led the left side of the powerful Raider line. but this great all-pro pulling guard will most be remembered for pulling the plug on the '82 season. Since the strike, Denver's Craig Morton has played only 2 series and not completed a pass. Throughout his career, his best years seemed to end in disappointment.
I've had a lot of bad moments in sport. The hardest moment's probably been in the Super Bowls I've played in because I haven't performed very well in those games.
Morton survived 18 seasons in the NFL, some of them great, none of them easy.
Irv, of course, after the strike, part of the settlement was that players retiring got severance pay. How much is that now for Morton and Upshaw and those others?
Well, Upshaw is a 16-year veteran, gets $180,000 in payment next year as part of severance pay, and Craig Morton winds up with a $200,000 check. Makes it a little easier to say goodbye.
Is that what the strike was all about, how much money we can get Gene Upshaw?
Well, you know, he was on injured reserve, but he still qualifies. It was a very key factor.
All right, thanks, Irv. Now let's send you back to the stadium and the game you're enjoying on CBS.
Back at the Superdome in New Orleans, the Saints, who've lost 9 of their last 10 to the Atlanta Falcons, lead Atlanta by 11. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly, John Dockery. John, we are seeing apparently the same Atlanta Falcons team. We talked about the fickle Falcons that we saw against Green Bay.
Exactly, and we're not seeing this Falcon team that had the ability to do a job on San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and a team that shut out these same New Orleans Saints 3 weeks ago. Second half, they can come back, though. They have the weapons.
And Kenny Stabler told us he was going to have some fun. He expected to put the ball up 50 to 55 times. He's already thrown the ball 27 times, and I think the 3 wide receivers has confused Atlanta a little bit.
Exactly right. They're not using a tight end, and he's completed 19 for over 200 yards, so Kenny Stabler is red hot.
Well, we've got 30 minutes of football left to go. The Saints still struggling for a playoff possibility, and Atlanta battling for home field as far as they can go. The Saints and the Falcons, it's 14-3. New Orleans on top over Atlanta. We're at halftime. We'll be right back.
Time for tune-up.
Tune-up?
Want to make sure we aren't burning up money by checking points, plugs, oil.
Insurance?
Insurance.
Insurance?
Allstate update. Auto insurance tune-up.
Allstate can help you make sure you're getting your money's worth. Just drop off your policy at Sears or any Allstate office. We'll check it out. Coverage limits, price, deductibles. Then you decide.
You might drive out with a better value. Now that's a tune-up.
Put yourself in good hands.
The Hilton's right across the street.
Let's meet back at the Hilton at 8.
Meet you at the Hilton at half. I'm over at the Hilton. Come over.
5 minutes to get to the Hilton.
I'm at the Hilton.
Let's walk over to the Hilton. I'll meet you later at the Hilton.
You know, the Hilton's got the best steak in town. See you at the Hilton.
And you can reach me at the Hilton. Just call me at the Hilton, and we'll get down to your business right away.
When American business hits the road, American business stops at Hilton, America's business address.